Welcome back, everybody, to another episode here on our RTS tutorial here. My name is Jesse for 3Prong Gaming, and in today's episode, we are going to do a little bit of HUD work, and we're going to make it so we can select our needed or wanted items in the world, so we can get a HUD to pop up. And so we're going to do some basic HUD work today, but we're primarily going to get set up to be able to select our items. Alright, in last episode we set up, we did our custom meshes. Yeah, so hopefully you guys are enjoying those. And if you haven't got your downloads yet, then it should still be down in the description. I'll probably have it in the description and throughout the rest of the videos. And anytime I add some new meshes or textures or something like that, then I will throw them in that folder so they'll constantly be updated when and if needed. Alright, well, so first I just want to apologize for not having a video out last Friday. My kids were on break from school, and that meant that I just didn't get my computer time that I normally get. Because usually I record this when everybody's out of the house, so it's nice and quiet, and I can do what I need to do. And it's usually when they're at school. So, yeah, so sorry about that. But I had a 3-day weekend from work too, so I got to enjoy that as well. So should be back on track, and let's go ahead and get this going. And so let's see, you can see up here, these are ultimately the blueprints we're going to end up needing for today's episode. We're going to create a few different HUDs right here, but let's go ahead and start out in the camera pawn controller right here. And scroll back here, where are we? Up here in the button events under the left mouse button. We're going to do this all from within here. This first one, we check to see, well, actually we don't check to really see anything. What we need to do is, let's go ahead for right now, let's just go ahead and move this out of this comment so we can have some space to work. And we need to make sure we're not in build mode before we do any of this. Let's slide this over, add in another branch right here, and eventually we may end up, if we've got some other functionality, we'll end up having to run a sequence. But for right now, I'm not going to put one in. But the first and foremost, what we need to do with this branch is just right click. Actually, we don't need to right click. Build mode active. Just drop that in there. So if we are in build mode, then we want to run that. If we are not in build mode, then what we need to do is we need to start doing our selection stuff right here. So go ahead and right click in the graph. Let's do a get hit results. And we actually want get hit results under cursor for objects. Now you might be tempted to think that this object type right here is for, well, cool, I'll just make it's an enum. So I'll just make an enum of all the different blueprints I want to create or I want to select, but that's not the case. If you actually keep hovered over it, you see it's an object type query. So what that is it's checking, well, let's see. The easy way to see what it wants is just reverse pull off of it here and do promote to variable. We're going to do this, we're going to call this what? Let's call this selectable objects enum. That'll work like that. So let's compile it and save it, or at least just compile it for right now, and select it here. And over here in the default value, you get a list here. It says 0 elements. Go ahead and hit the plus button, and you can see what it actually wants, or what the enum is the object type. So if we go, let's say the building master right here, and we select the static mesh, you can come down here into collisions, and the object type is building. So this is what it's looking for. This is what you need to enter, is what object type you have set. So that's perfect. We pretty much have set this up correctly to this point. So the first one we want to select is anything that is of type building. All right, so let's do another one, and do another one, pawn. And for right now, that should be it, because pretty much all our buildings, whether it's a proxy building or residential or anything based off a child of the building master, will be a building. And yeah, I think that's all we want to do. And the construction proxy is a building. So go ahead and compile and save that. So those are the only things we want to select are those two elements right there. Leave it trace complex and the type is self. So go ahead and pull off the hit results and do a break hit result right there. And what we need to do here first, we need to pull off of this and do an equal equal. We need to make sure that what we're selecting is not null. In other words, we clicked like the landscape, right? That's not part of this. So this would hit actor would actually come up null. So we need to double check and make sure that we're selecting something that we want selected. And if not, we don't want to do anything with that there. So go ahead and slide this back a little bit. I'll clean all this up on my own later. And if it is, excuse me, go ahead and delete that. Let's do a not equals to null. Make it a little bit easier so we can pull off the true. If it's not null, what we need to do is we need to create an event dispatcher. Now there's several ways that you can do this selecting of an object. And I've had it set up various ways. But the most common way is people like to cast. And casting, especially if you've got a bunch of different selectable items, is really a pain in the neck. And I had problems with that when I was originally setting it up like that. So I came up with this. Now, I heard something on an Epic Twitch that they did not too long ago. And they said that somebody at Epic had did kind of a performance test, whereas the performance between casting, interfaces, and event dispatcher. Interfaces and casting cost about the same in performance. Event dispatcher is the heaviest. However, and the reason why we're using event dispatcher here is because if you've got, 5 different things that, you want to select, of course, we've only got 2 right at this point. I'm sure we'll have more in the future, but if you got 5 things that you want to do, you're going to have to run a cast for every single one of those. It's going to have to run through those casts. So the performance of that is already going to be high. Whereas if we run the event dispatcher, it's just going to send it out to everything that needs it, and whatever needs it, you'll see as we move along, but whatever needs it, we'll use it, and whatever doesn't need it, we'll just ignore it. So I think this is probably going to be the best way to go about it. It's definitely the cleanest. So let's go ahead and create a new event dispatcher. We will call this Hud Request. Okay, and we need a new input over here with it selected. You'll see over here in the details panel, we get the input, selected new, and let's just go ahead and call this one hit act. Did I spell that? Actor. All right, and then make it of type actor. Oops, I'm trying to type with one hand. I guess it doesn't work too well. And we need the reference for the actor. All right, and what's this default value passed by? No, we don't need to worry about any of that. Compile and save that. So now what we need to do is just go ahead and pull in our HUD request right here. Drop it, grab a call, pull it off the true, because if it's not equal true, we want to run this. Now the hit actor will be, well, the hit actor right here that we want to do. All right, and that is pretty much it. That's all we need to do here in the camera controller right at this point. So go ahead and compile and save that. Like I said, I'll come back, clean all this up, and move it all back down here off of camera. So next, let's go ahead and jump into the building master. Okay. First, what we need to do in here in the building master is this collision, right? I had it set up differently. All right. Well, in my test one, it was actually object type of building. We don't want the collision as a building. We want it as world dynamic. So I have it set right here, but for whatever reason in my pre-setup, my cheat sheet, I had it set as building, but just make sure that your object type for your collision is not set to building. Otherwise, it's going to see this as a separate object from the static mesh. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, I usually get more wrong numbers on my home phone than I do on than I get regular phone calls. Anyways, yeah, so just make sure that your object type here is for your collision is set as world dynamic. Otherwise, it will see as a separate object from your static mesh, right? And our static mesh is set to building. All right, so Let's go ahead and drop in. We haven't really done anything with our building master BP here. So let's go ahead and do a begin play. And in the begin play, well, we need to get our, let's see here, references. What do we have for reference? Well, we got the camera or the controller reference. I'm not quite sure where we set this at. I thought we set this when we spawned the building master, but yeah, we're going to set it here in the begin play. So just go ahead and right click, do get player controller, because for some reason it's actually not hooked up, at least not in my cheat sheet one. It wasn't set up. So off the get player, go ahead and do a cast, and cast to the camera pawn controller. Okay, and then just go ahead and drag your controller reference in here and drop it right there, and it'll automatically hook up a set for us. All right, so now off of this, nice thing about having this output pin is we don't need to drag a new instance of the variable into the world. So we just drag off of this and do a bind. There you type in bind, you get a ton. Don't go event dispatcher under here, under default. We want bind event to Hud request. Okay, go ahead and plug in execution right there. So let's create a new custom event, and we will call this one display HUD. A lot of this is going to be repetitive for the blueprints that we need to do for selecting objects, but that's okay. We can do that, not a problem. Name, we'll just call it actor, and we will make it of type actor reference right there. And we won't compile because we won't get it. Hopefully it'll see it right here. Drag off the event of the bind, and under event dispatcher, go ahead and create event, select your display HUD, and there we go for that. All right, so now we actually got something else we got to do here, but we can't quite do it yet. So let's make sure this actor, now the way we're going to check when we send out the event dispatcher is grab an equal here, equal, and what we need to make sure the actor being passed through, in other words, whatever we select here, let me just type in self. We need to get a reference to self. All right, and I'll explain this right now. So what we're doing here with camera pawn controller, when we select an object, which is only going to check to see if it's a pawn or a building, when it comes through, the hit actor, we're passing right here. Whatever it hit is going through here. It's going to be an instance of it. So we're really not going to have to do any casting. We're going to have the type that comes through right here, right? And we shouldn't really need any casting for this anyways. So we're just passing this hit actor through, and each blueprint is going to that has this bind event is going to check, does this actor equal me? Are you selecting me? And if it is, then that's when we're going to want to run our magic. If it's not, well, it's going to ignore it. So that's really cut and dry. That's probably the easiest way that I have found to be able to do this. So we're going to come back and have to do this. We got to build our HUDs real fast. They're right at this point. We're just going to do some basic HUD work. So let's go into our construction proxy, and this is going to be about the same thing, adjust time. Well, let's move that out of the way. We've got actually, I don't think we have a reference to we don't have a reference to the camera controller, so we're going to have to do that one again in here. So go ahead and get player controller, cast to the camera pawn controller. Plug this in, plug that in there, and then right click on this and promote to variable, call it controller ref, and default category down to references, and good to go with that one. So again, we need to pull off of this and do a bind, find the bind event to HUD request. And then come down here somewhere, do a custom event and call it display HUD. All right, did I spell that right? Yep. Again, we're going to need an actor input here. Actor reference. Okay, and then pull off of this again, equal. And we need to make sure if it's itself or not, if we are calling this. Branch it. I know I went a little bit fast with this one, but it's exactly the same as the last one. So compile and save it. Oh, the reason why we get the error here is because we didn't set the bind event. So pull off of this, event dispatcher, create event, select our display HUD, and now we won't get that error. Compile it and save it. Close that out. Now let's do this. I won't show this one. Let's just go ahead and do this really quick for the construction proxy. Again, we're going to need reference, or for the NPC blueprint, we're going to need our camera controller. So let me go ahead and do this real quick, exactly like we just did in the last two, and I'll be right back in just a second. All right, so we got this all set up here. Just only took me a minute to do. So now we will go ahead and create some basic HUDs, okay? These are going to be very basic. These are just going to give us some information that we need to do. And actually right now, we're not really going to set up for information at this point. We're going to get the HUD pop up. I think in the next episode, we'll go ahead and start adding a little functionality to the HUD, but it's really not going to be advanced. All the advanced stuff and making it pretty and all that, that is for near the very end. In the alpha pre-beta stage is where you start making things all nice and pretty. I know we kind of jumped the gun with our meshes, but it's a lot better than using the custom shapes, and they are definitely much prettier. So go ahead and right click here. We're in the HUDs folder, and go down to, where is it? User interface, widget blueprint. We're just going to create kind of a base one here, and then we will go ahead and copy it. So we'll do this first one. We'll just call it building underscore HUD. All right. Yeah, so let's jump into this. Double click it. All right, so we're presented here with our canvas panel. So we need to drop in a size box under the panel right here. Grab a size box, drop it on the canvas panel. Here it is. It drops it right in here in an inconvenient spot for us. So now the size box, ultimately there's a lot we could do with the size box. I'm not going to go into too much detail with it. It's pretty much just a container like the canvas panel, but it can be dynamic and change with whatever content you have in there. But for right now, let's just go ahead and set its size X here under the slots. Yeah, underneath the slot right here. Set its size X to 1476. These were just kind of arbitrary numbers that I ended up coming up with, but it looks all right. And then the size Y, 916. Okay. And then just kind of drag it up in here and center it up. It doesn't necessarily have to be perfect right at this point. Actually, I got it pretty close to good, surprisingly. Grab this anchor. Actually, just select your anchor right here. We need to center it to the center, and that will work for that. Okay. And in the size box, what we need to do is we need to add an image. So go ahead and select an image, drag it and put it into the size box. And well, that's kind of ugly, right? So what we need to do with the image, make sure it's selected here. Let's just pick whatever color you want. I'm just going to pick a decent shade of blue here, I think. And then turn the opacity down so we can see through it. I'm going to turn it down to about 0.3. So that way you can see what's going on in the world behind it. All right, so yeah, that'll work. Pick whatever color you want. And let's go ahead and compile it and save it just to make sure. Okay, and with that, now we need to grab a button. Yeah, go ahead and grab the button. We need to put this on the canvas panel. Drop it in there. Let's name this button. This will be our close underscore button. All right, and for that we need a text. Go ahead and drag and drop a text right on top of the close button. And let's see, where is our close button? Probably should have moved this first. Let's put it right up in here. All we're going to do with this is we're going to make this kind of like a window that we're used to here. So with your close button selected, your size X, let's just do 32. Your size Y, 32. So that way it's nice and even right there. And for the background color and appearance, select it. I'm going to make mine purely red. Opacity full 1.0. And then the text block, let's just go in here and set the text to just an X. All right. So now the X is still too big. So just kind of See how my cursor turned to a sideways arrow? Just click and drag it down until the X fits in there. Nice and pretty, about like that. That looks all right to me. All right, now for this, and actually the text looks like it's mixed in there pretty good. Yeah, those are the values we need. We need it centered and centered. And the close button, I don't think we need anything special other than that for the close button. Nope, that should be it. So let's go ahead and select the close button again. Come down here on clicked. Let's just go ahead and add that right now. We'll come back and do that in a minute. Compile and save it. I just wanted to add the event. And let's go ahead and add one more element to this really fast. And we will add a, let's see, another size box. Where is it? There it is, size box. Drag it onto the canvas panel and drop it. All right, so let's go ahead and drag this. And I'm just going to make this big just for a minute. In this size box, let's go ahead and grab a horizontal box right here. Drag it, put it onto that size box. And in that size box, or in that horizontal box, let's go ahead and grab another text and put it into the horizontal box. So now this text, actually, let's go with the horizontal box really fast. What we need to do is we need to change its alignment here, the horizontal alignment, do it centered, and we'll leave it stretched on the top, okay? But the text, let's go down in here, and what we need for the text is go ahead and select centered and centered. So there we go. So now obviously we don't want this horizontal box or this size box too big. So let's just go ahead and jump up into that and scale it down. Oops. Center it up a little bit anyways. It's going to have to be centered there. So let's go ahead and just kind of scale it down to about right there. It doesn't even need to be that long. Actually, I leave it long. Just because we're going to end up putting like the player's name up in here, and that could tend to be long. We could do this. We could make this size to content, and it'll automatically stretch how we need it to. But yeah, I'm not going to worry about it right at this point. Like I said, this is all going to be basic. Change the anchor to the top center. Now grab the center of this and just kind of slide it down towards the top of this HUD right here. We need to do the same thing with our close button actually too. We need to change the anchor point to the top right, but we're going to drag it and we're just going to kind of place it right at the edge right there. So that way it's all just kind of anchored right there. And actually I'm not happy with this location. So let's just go ahead and move it a little bit closer to the edge. There we go. And for the name of this text block, we could just leave it saying text block. That's not a big deal. But its name up here in the details, we're going to need a reference to this. So let's just go ahead and call this name underscore text. All right. And that is it right at this point. So let's go ahead and let's go in here real quick because we're going to have to copy this and we're going to end up duplicating this blueprint. So on click, when we click the close button, all we're going to want to do is do remove from parent. Leave it as a reference to itself. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to remove this from the screen. There's going to be other work that we're going to have to do in here and is actually going to be duplicated around these other ones. But it's something we're going to have to set up after we get some things going here. So let's go back out, make sure it's compiled and saved. Come out here, select your building HUD, and just Control W, right? Maybe Control W. There we go. Let's call this one Proxy underscore HUD. Control S. Select it and Control W again and call this one NPC underscore HUD. There we go. And that is pretty much it. We've got that. We got the building HUD. So now let's jump into the building master really quick. And what we need to do here in the display HUD, under the true, if it does equal this, pull off the true. Actually, we need to go into our event begin play right here and pull off of this when you do create widget. All right. And in the class, go ahead and select our building HUD because we're in the building master, and then right click on the return value, promote to variable, and we will just call this one building HUD. There we go. Now drag in your building HUD reference right here and get it. Drag off and do add to viewport right there. Perfect. Pull this off the true. We're not going to want anything with the false, so you can line this all up nice and pretty like that. So now whenever this is selected, if this is equal to the actor being passed through, then we're going to add it to the viewport. Compile and save it, and we're going to go back into the construction proxy now, and we're going to do the exact same thing. This is a little bit repetitive, so go ahead and pull off and do create widget. And again, we're in the construction proxy. So for the class, go ahead and select the proxy HUD. Right click, promote the variable, call it proxy HUD. Put it in here, oops, like so. And then down here in the display HUD, off the true, actually go ahead and pull in your proxy HUD, new variable, pull it in here and do add to viewport. Off the true right there. Oops, come on. Off the true right there. Compile and save it. And then the last one in the NPC blueprint, again, pull off, do create widget. Class will be NPC HUD, and right click, promote to variable, NPC I'm going to do underscore HUD just because I've got them all capitalized and it'll space it out for me. Okay, and then down here in the display HUD, you got it right. Pull in your NPC HUD variable, get it, and add to viewport. Perfect. So that is it. That's what we got for today. So let's go ahead and test this out really quick and go ahead and play this. So move out of the hills way right here. So right now, if we select, see we get nothing popping up no matter what we select. Even if we select our little sphere right there, we're not getting anything. So let's go ahead and drop in an NPC. All right, he fell right into the world. Select him. Now this popped up. Now this will end up having like his name. We're going to have a ton of stuff in here eventually. But yeah, the HUD popped up. You can see right here, we're going to end up disabling controls. We got a bunch of stuff. We got our X right here. So we click on the X and there it goes. It went away. Select him again. And perfect. So now we drop in, we'll say we drop in an apartment right here. He's going to race and do that. We select this. See, now we get this is for the construction proxy. Right? This will have like completion percentage and who's working on it and stuff. So let's speed this up. All right, so now we got the actual building. We select it, and there we go. Right? Then we come down here. We could select him, and perfect. That is exactly what we wanted and intended to happen. So perfect. We kept this under 30 minutes. Actually, I thought it was going to be a little bit shorter, but I am happy with this. I hope you guys are happy with it. Yeah, like I said, in the next episode, I think we'll expand on the HUD a little bit to give us the information we need. The construction proxy, right at this point, we're probably just going to have it, besides its name up top, you know, the name of what type of building it is, I suppose, and which characters are working on the building, and its completion percentage, how long till it's finally completed. And then for the building master, what we'll do is, well, there's a ton we're going to do in that one. We may not even end up doing anything with that one in the next episode, simply because we don't have anything else set up as far as, you know, residents of an apartment or employees of a construction proxy or employees of a construction office. And then the NPC, we'll probably put a little information on there, like maybe their name, but we don't have any health values yet. We don't have any stamina. We don't have hunger. We don't have any of that yet. That'll eventually go all up into there. And I've been working on that, and actually I'm working in my lead project, in my head project. I'm actually working on the hunger right now, so, and it's coming along pretty good, so I think we'll be okay. I got the stamina, or the stamina / sleep all worked out for that, and that is working perfect. Awesome. So 30 minutes, we're done. Go down, hit that like button, please do me a favor. Helps me out a ton. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well. Go ahead and check out one of those other 2 videos that are playing on the screen right now. And until the next episode, peace.